All right, it's time to make some soup. So today what we're going to make is broccoli and cheddar soup. So here's the ingredients you're going to need: garlic, onions, some butter, cheddar cheese, a big thing of broccoli, some chicken broth, and of course some milk. So we'll go through this and get you to the finished product. So the first thing, of course, we need is a big thing of broccoli, but we're going to have to break it down. So there we go. Take the stems in that and set them aside because it's kind of a two-cook process. So what I did was all the little florets, I chopped them down small, and then I took all the stems and pieces, chopped them up as best I could, not too bad because we're going to cook them separately. So all the tops, I kind of broke them down a bit because we're going to have to mix them eventually, but not right now. So it's just a matter of cutting everything, and when we finally get to the end, you can see I've got all the little bits and pieces here, and we'll just have to cut all the stems when they're done. And dig out, them all, because the stems are a lot tougher to eat, so we've actually got to render them down. So there's all the pieces. All right, and here's the finished product. So this is all the tops that I've chopped up into small pieces. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to put them aside for now, and we'll get to them later. So here's the stems that I've got, and we try not to waste any of it. It's all good. It'll all cook down just fine. So what I did was I actually cut it into small strips. You don't have to get that carried away. You can if you'd like. I just thought it would be more advantageous to do it that way. And you can see they're kind of small. You know what, if you don't have the time, I don't think you really got to worry about it that much. Oh yeah, I did have to slice off the bottom because you know how rough the bottom is. But that big chunk, no, never throw it out. That's good stuff. You want to make it as thinly sliced as possible because don't forget, this has got to end up soup. So there you see, I chopped it up as best I could. Here's basically the end product. You can see how small I was chopping up the stems. We're all done with the broccoli now, so we're going to put that in another bowl, and we'll set that aside till we're done doing our prep work. So the next thing we need to do is tackle this onion. Not that it's hard at all, but we're going to use the whole thing. So there it is, peeled and kind of chopped up. I didn't go nuts making it a finely chopped, but I did kind of chop it up just to make it easy. So into the pot that's going to be our soup eventually, I put probably about 3 or 4 tablespoons of oil in the bottom, warm up the pot, throw in some butter. That's about a couple tablespoons of butter. Okay, and let that melt down. Now, I have been told that by putting the butter with the oil or the oil with the butter, it won't scorch. And so far in the last couple weeks that I've been trying it, it's worked out really well. Now once the butter's ready to go, obviously we're going to throw that broccoli that we cut up, all the stems in that, and we're going to render it down. Eventually, once we cook it maybe halfway, we throw in our onions. And we're going to cook both of them down. And with a little bit of cooking and not a whole lot of patience, it's going to take you 5 minutes or so. It should be ready. So in another pot, while we're waiting for this to finish, we've got 3 cups of chicken broth, chicken stock, and 3 cups of milk. And of course that's my hand because of course I got to get my hand in the way. So that's basically the liquid part of the soup. And then from there you want to keep an eye on it, but you want to bring it up to temperature and you want to stir it. You don't want it to curdle, so you got to kind of take your time and let it warm up on its own. The broccoli looks like it's pretty well done, so when you get to that point you throw in some garlic, and then of course I didn't like how much I put in, so you got to put in more garlic. Give that a stir and kind of incorporate it around with the broccoli and onions for, like a minute, just to make sure it's all nice and mixed around with the vegetables. All right, so we're going to add flour to the broccoli and onions, about a quarter cup, and we're going to make a roux, which is basically a thickening agent. So we want the soup to be a little thicker than what the milk and chicken stock would be. And the trick here is you want to cook it for a couple minutes, and you got to continually stir. Yeah, it's a pain, but you don't want it to burn on the bottom of the pot. So you just keep stirring for the 2 minutes, and then you go on to what's next. Well, that looks about right. So now we're going to put our liquid in, our milk and chicken stock. Now I don't want that to burn either, so I put a little bit in to kind of lower the temperature and kind of give it a mix. And then you want to slowly incorporate it all. You don't want anything burning or curdling or anything, so you just kind of take your time till you get to the end, and then you can put it in. Now you got to warm it back up. It should still be hot, the liquid. I mean, it was hot before you put it in, so it should still be. Give it a really good stir and mix it all around, and as you can see, the more you mix, it kind of changes color a little bit. So now the broccoli that we had, I actually had it in the fridge in a bag. So here's the broccoli tops that we cut up, so we're going to throw that in. Okay, now it's looking more and more like broccoli soup, so that's where we wanted to go. And now, of course, that's going to have to cook for probably around 15 minutes, stirring occasionally. And, here's about the time where you want to put in your spices. You put in whatever you want. I like pepper. You can put a little bit of salt in it, too. I mean, you can season to taste. But you want to put some garlic powder in, go ahead. You want to put some onion powder. This is a little bit of nutmeg, I believe I put in. Okay, it started out as a little, but I think it was like a teaspoon and a half, I think. Something like that. Now you're going to want to incorporate all that, mix it around, get it all back up to temperature, and let it simmer for a bit. So, because now we got to go on to the next part. Now the fun part comes. It's all been mixed, it's all cooked, and now we've got to use an immersion blender, which is what that is, in order to get all the little broccoli pieces down into, small sized pieces. And it does take a little bit of work. You gotta be careful you don't spray all over the place in that. But, after a few minutes, you get it down so that it's all nice and broken down beautifully. And that's what you want. So this is the only real piece of equipment you're going to need if you're going to try making this, as an immersion blender. And I don't think it would work the other way. You might be able to try it in a blender. I don't know that I would. But as you can see, it took probably 3 or 4 minutes to get it down so it looks like liquid. And, some of the broccoli was getting stuck at the bottom. It's probably because I'm not an expert on using the thing. So, but we got it. We got it to the consistency it needed to be. Well, that's the broccoli part, and it looks really yummy. But of course, we need the cheese part, which is, the cheddar cheese. So, yeah, that's probably a cup of cheddar. You could put in more if you want. I mean, if you really want a lot of cheese. This was actually good. And the soup's nice and hot, so you put it in a little bit at a time and just kind of mix it around, let the heat do its thing. And you can see how it's kind of turning a little orange, which is what it's supposed to do. So eventually we're going to get to the point where it is just right on. And at this point, it smells so good, I want to drink the whole pot. Now the last of the cheese goes in. I don't want to waste a crumb. Cheddar is just out of this world great. And part of me doesn't even want to finish the soup. I just want to start eating it now, because it's just so yummy. Oh, but we're going to finish it. And there you have it. That's broccoli and cheddar soup. And now it's time for me to sit back with a big bowl and just enjoy it. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this enjoyable and informative. And that you learned something. I know I did. If you've got a comment, leave it below. Give me a like. I'd sure appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, as always, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll tell you the next time I upload a video, usually once a week. And as always, thanks so much for watching. Bye for now. We'll see you next time.